Amid the intense heat of the Miami Grand Prix battle, Ferrari found itself pulled into a drama far bigger than just race results, from a promising early dominance to a dramatic collapse on the final lap that sparked Charles Leclerc's fury following a harsh decision from the FIA. Just when everything still seemed salvageable, a single moment turned it all into disaster. So was this purely Ferrari's mistake, or were there other factors that ultimately brought Leclerc down in Miami? Let's discuss Inesita. The Miami race became one of Ferrari's most bitter weekends of the season. Charles Leclerc, who started near the front, delivered an outstanding performance in the early stages. With an aggressive and precise launch, he managed to take the lead and hold it for the first 13 laps. In clean air, the Ferrari SF26 looked highly competitive, especially on medium tyres. The race pace was stable, tyre management was under control, and everything appeared to be unfolding under ideal conditions. Team principal Frédéric Vasseur also openly admitted that the opening phase of the race had generated strong optimism inside the Ferrari garage. At that moment, the team showed solid control over the race, maintaining a consistent pace, executing strategy as planned, and holding their advantage relatively comfortably without significant pressure from their closest rivals. However, the race dynamics shifted dramatically when Charles Leclerc switched to hard tyres. Instead of strengthening his position, the decision dropped him back into the tight battle at the front of the pack. From that point on, a critical issue began to emerge. Unexpected rear tyre overheating gradually started to develop. This wasn't just reducing traction, it also disrupted the car's overall balance, causing Ferrari's performance to slowly deteriorate lap by lap until the early advantage they had built completely faded. The tyre temperature issue quickly became a decisive factor and could no longer be treated as a minor variable in race strategy. Once the tyres exceeded their optimal operating window, grip dropped sharply and the impact on race pace was immediate and severe. Ferrari, which had previously looked in control, began to lose its edge. Frédéric Vasseur emphasised that keeping tyre temperatures stable is the key to maintaining performance, but this becomes extremely difficult when the car is not in an ideal track position or is forced to run in dirty air. Once the car's balance is compromised, the chain reaction is clear. Degradation increases, driver confidence drops, and overall performance collapses. The situation grew even more complex when the safety car was deployed, effectively resetting the race and disrupting the carefully built strategy. Rivals capitalised on this moment brilliantly, immediately activating overtake modes to launch attacks. This is where Ferrari's weakness became fully exposed. Without a straight-line speed advantage, Charles Leclerc simply didn't have the tools to defend, making him an easy target for overtakes. It also highlighted another unresolved fundamental issue: Ferrari's engine power deficit, which leaves them less competitive in direct wheel-to-wheel battles, especially during critical phases like safety car restarts. The comparison with the Mercedes-AMG Petronas Formula One team becomes even more striking when analysing straight-line performance. According to various reports, Scuderia Ferrari is estimated to be down by around 30 horsepower at high speeds, a gap that may seem small on paper, but has a significant impact in real racing conditions. This shortfall makes it difficult for Ferrari to defend positions or execute overtaking moves, particularly in DRS zones where power efficiency and acceleration are crucial. Lewis Hamilton himself acknowledged that Ferrari's overall car package is not bad and remains competitive in several technical sectors. However, he emphasised that the deficit in straight-line speed has become a critical weakness, one that can even be considered fatal in wheel-to-wheel situations. In close combat, where every kilometre per hour matters, this lack of power puts Ferrari in a defensive position, making it difficult to match the pressure from their main rivals. This issue is further worsened by the suboptimal performance of the new energy management system. Although Ferrari has introduced aerodynamic upgrades that work reasonably well, the package has not been enough to compensate for the engine power deficit that has been visible since the start of the season. The drama reached its peak on the final lap. Leclerc spun and briefly made contact with the barrier. The incident caused damage to the suspension and the left side of the car, leaving him struggling through right-hand corners. In that condition, he repeatedly cut the chicane in an effort to maintain his position. However, a decisive ruling eventually came from the FIA and significantly altered the final race results. Charles Leclerc was handed a 20-second time penalty, equivalent to a drive-through penalty, which dropped him from 6th place down to 8th. The impact of this penalty was not only damaging in terms of result, but also erased valuable points that Ferrari had already been within reach of securing. Although Leclerc explained that his car had suffered serious damage that affected control and consistency on track, the FIA stood firm on its objective assessment. From the steward's perspective, the track limits violations still provided an advantage, however small, and therefore could not be ignored in such a closely fought competition. This decision became even more controversial when compared to similar incidents in previous seasons, where track limits violations often resulted in much lighter penalties or even just warnings. This difference in approach has created a strong perception that the FIA is now applying stricter and more consistent standards, particularly in enforcing track boundaries. While this can be seen as an effort to improve fairness and discipline in racing, it also fuels debate about consistency in rule enforcement across different seasons and incidents. On the other hand, Lewis Hamilton also endured a race that was no less difficult. From the opening lap, his car suffered damage following contact with another driver. He lost around half a second per lap and had to carefully manage engine temperatures throughout the race. Frédéric Vasseur even described Hamilton's race as survival mode all the way to the finish line. Hamilton also revealed another serious issue: a mismatch between the simulator and the real on-track performance. He admitted to using the simulator every week before the race, but the results were not relevant to the actual conditions on track. This raises a major warning sign for Ferrari, as simulator correlation is a crucial element in modern car development. Overall, the Miami results show that Ferrari are now lagging as the third strongest force. In the points standings, they trail Mercedes and McLaren, although they still hold a slight advantage over Red Bull Racing. Even so, Vasseur remains optimistic. He reminded everyone that in previous seasons, large points gaps were still recoverable up to the final races. Ferrari's hopes now rely on the next development package, including engine upgrades and systems known as ADUO, which are scheduled to arrive mid-season. In conclusion, the Miami Grand Prix left a bitter feeling for Ferrari. They showed the potential to lead, but failed to maintain it due to a combination of technical issues, strategy decisions, and controversial rulings. Now, attention shifts to the next race with the hope that upcoming upgrades can become a turning point in their season. What do you think? Was the FIA's 20-second penalty for Leclerc fair under the rules, or was it too harsh considering his car was damaged on the final lap? Drop your thoughts below